Hello, Rachel. How's it going?
Hey, Brittany.
I threw you for a loop. I did it a little bit differently. Usually I say just, hey, Rachel, but I switched it up on her, keeping her on her toes.
Right. That's all right.
So today I want to talk about presidential pardons, which are in the news right now. Again, we record this a little bit before you hear it, but presidential pardons, as Biden has left office, which for us was yesterday, and as Trump has come in, President Biden gave some last minute preemptive pardons, which were very interesting. Well, he gave some pardons beforehand. He pardoned his own son, which people were a lot of thoughts on that because he said he wasn't going to do it, and then he did it.
He said he wouldn't do it.
He said he wouldn't do it, and then he did it because I think he was just like, I'm on my way out. What are you going to do? And then yesterday, for us, not for you guys, he did a bunch of preemptive pardons, which were basically saying, I'm going to pardon these people before anyone even brings any sort of lawsuit against them, which is real sus, as the kids say. Real, it's
sus.
It's sus.
Yeah.
It's, and it's, I can see it from two angles. From one angle, I can say like, well, what are you trying to protect? If you are specifically pardoning Anthony Fauci and the people who sat on the the January 6th commission, these are people who were very political. Are you protecting them because you know they did something wrong, or are you protecting them because you think that Trump is going to be very politically aggressive, unfair? Which I don't know. I might have my own opinions, but I think it could go either way. I think if we're too quick to say like, oh, what did they do? I'm always skeptical of anything government does, but giving Biden the benefit of the doubt, maybe he doesn't think they're guilty of wrongdoing. Maybe he just wants to protect them. Either way, this has not happened before. We haven't seen preemptive pardons. But let's back up a little bit. What is a presidential pardon? Sometimes it's called clemency, but a pardon is when somebody is convicted of something and then the president, under the Constitution, he has the authority to say, I pardon you, like I'm erasing your crime. You're free to go. Your record is clean. And this has happened throughout history. In fact, we took this from the British common law. So kings used to grant clemency to people, is what they called it. So this is not new. This has been seen throughout history. How they've been used in America has been interesting. I believe draft dodgers. So during Vietnam, it was a horrible war. We know that now. We're still nobody really knows why we were in it. So many very young kids died. This was way before our time, our parents' time. Even my dad was just barely too young to get drafted, but I mean on the cusp. But so they drafted a lot of people. A lot of people died. Wasn't really for any of our own interest. Nobody really knows why. And so people were fleeing to Canada and fleeing to other countries so that they couldn't get drafted. And they call this draft dodging. If you dodge the draft, think of like dodgeball. You're like dodging the big balls in gym class. That was a crime. And so after Vietnam, years later, when people realized how ridiculous it was, I know a lot of draft dodgers got pardoned. So that's a good thing, right? They're a great use. The presidential pardon, it's in there for a reason. The problem is, do we love what, Biden did with it, especially a preemptive? I don't like anything that's preemptive. I don't like a preemptive strike, in like war. We used to do that all the time. We used to say like, well, they might hit us. Let's hit them first. I don't like that because that prefix, pre, that means it happens before something. So for something to be preemptive means you're reacting to something that hasn't happened. So you shouldn't be acting at all, in my opinion. So I don't know. What do you think about these preemptive pardons?
Well, I wonder if you could back up a little bit and talk a little bit about the difference between a pardon and commuting a sentence, like a commutation of a sentence.
You just stumped me because I was not prepared to answer that question. Do you want to take that?
Okay. Well, then, okay. I will take it then. To commute a sentence is not to say you're forgiven and your record is not clear, but you get credit for time served and you can go free. So
that happened they released some people who were for nonviolent drug offenses, I think is where people were getting their sentences commuted. So basically it just pauses.
Well, it says, okay, you're still a felon. Like if you were convicted of a felony,
okay.
you're still a felon, but you don't have to stay in jail anymore. You're
Not ideal,
your
but
sentence, better. It's better. It's not as good as a full pardon. So there's a difference.
Step
like
in
a
the right
full
direction,
pardon
though.
just wipes your record clean. But here's one thing that I read about, like Fauci being pardoned, like preemptively before he's even been charged with anything, is kind of a good thing. Is that now they can subpoena him before Congress to talk some more about what happened during the pandemic and the COVID virus and all of that, and he can't take the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination anymore.
Interesting.
So
that is fascinating.
They can still bring him in and
because
question
he wouldn't
him.
be incriminating himself because he's That is fascinating.
He doesn't have that excuse anymore.
So the Fifth Amendment is when the Fifth Amendment has a lot of stuff in it. There's a lot of stuff actually, but one of them is you hear people on shows say, I plead the Fifth. Like the cops will say like, or they'll be in court like, tell us where you were, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, I plead the Fifth. That is your right to remain silent. You don't have to incriminate yourself. It's like if your mom, even though moms are not the courts, let's say you baked cookies and they're all missing. And
unfortunately,
and you corner your boys, and they don't even want to open their mouth because if they do, you'll see the cookie crumbs everywhere. So they just stay silent, and if it was not your house, if it was a court of law, they would be allowed to stay silent because they would incriminate themselves if they said differently. So it's like that, except moms don't have the rule of law, I guess.
So we're nasty little dictators sometimes.
Sometimes. So that's what she means by plead the Fifth. So where you don't have to say anything, but if you're not being suspected of something criminal. So like you're saying, if Fauci is preemptively pardoned, now he doesn't have the Fifth Amendment. That is very interesting. That's a twist. I did not expect this to take, Rachel.
Because Fauci did not act alone. Like whatever crimes were committed, if there were crimes committed, it was not Fauci acting alone. There's a whole bunch of people underneath him that were affecting whatever he was doing, that were helping his agenda and all playing their little piece. And if they were doing something criminal that ended up getting people killed, if that happened, then they did not get a pardon, So they can still have Fauci come in and testify. Basically, he would be acting as a witness against, all of these underlings in the government that did bad things.
Well, and I want to point out, too, I don't want to sit and make it seem like we're just like hitting on Biden for doing the pardons. Presidents do pardons. Now, no one has ever done as many as Biden, actually. He made history. He also preemptively pardoned random family members of his, like his brothers or brother, I know.
Yeah.
So there are some things that are kind of like, There is nothing in the Constitution that says you can't pardon your family members. I do think that's a little unethical. That's a topic for another time. But I also want to say again that it's not just him that used it. So Trump pardoned the January 6th, I guess, what would you call them?
The defendants.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, that because I know people would want to call them insurrectionists or things. But again, they did not go to court. A lot of them were actually being held as though they were terrorists without trial. And that's awful. Everybody should get a day in court.
Yep, that's against the Constitution.
Everybody should get a day in court.
A fair and speedy trial.
And that didn't happen.
And they were not getting it.
So Trump also went in and he pardoned. So like pardons are political. They both pardoned people or preemptively pardoned people that did kind of align with their politics. It happens. People do it. Now, people don't usually do their family members. That's a little, again.
Well, I don't know. I think it's kind of presidential privilege. You attain that office. There's certain benefits that come with it, and that's one of them. But it does say something about those family members and what that family is up to.
Right.
On the other hand, they tried to unfairly prosecute, and in my opinion, unfairly prosecute Trump's family members. So why wouldn't he do the same thing to protect them from unfair prosecution after he leaves office? Right.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's
what's
interesting.
good for the goose, good for the gander.
Exactly. I do want to point this out, and I'm not, again, all parties involved are very flawed. But, it is interesting. He's allegedly worried that Trump's going to go after people who are his political enemies. But if you remember when Trump was elected the first time, people were chanting "lock her up" about Hillary Clinton, and they wanted her, put on trial and arrested and all that. And he didn't do it because he said it wouldn't be good for the country.
Right. And he said it would create a horrible precedent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it turns out the precedent he was trying to avoid was actually set by the Biden administration.
Yeah, which is really interesting. And again, not saying, I just think it's interesting that people are saying, oh, Trump's going to do this when he actually already didn't. But Biden, like you said, is doing it. So it's interesting. There's a lot to think about. But again, like you said, pardons are a privilege. And so as far as some pardons I would like to see, I would love to see a pardon for Edward Snowden.
Me too.
I think not only should he get a pardon, I'd love to see some sort of award.
Medal?
Yeah, medal. Now, I don't know. I don't know if I see that happening, but I think it would be closer to happening now than we've ever seen before. I think there's enough of this they call the deep state, what they call, all these behind closed doors that it's possible. Ross Ulbricht.
He should get some whistleblower protections.
Not Ross Ulbricht. We switched gears. Edward Snowden, yes. And then Ross Ulbricht, his case is a little bit more complex, but there was some like cryptocurrency, blockchain type stuff, and he didn't really get a fair trial. So, I'd like to see maybe that happen.
Julian Assange.
I feel so silly that I forgot to add that to my list. Yes, absolutely. I think whistleblowers deserve way more protection. And, there was a funny thing when Edward Snowden made all these leaks that we needed to know as the American people about the government spying on us. President Obama at the time had this whole section on his website about protecting whistleblowers. And then it was like a day after Snowden's revelations, it mysteriously disappeared from the website.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh, that was big. Suddenly the whistleblower section of his administration, platforms were gone.
Unless you blow the whistle on me.
Yeah, exactly. So presidential pardons are a really, we'll kind of wrap it up here, really interesting power. You're right, Rachel. I was going in this being like, they shouldn't ever use it, but they were given in the Constitution, they were given this, privilege. So of course they're going to use it.
Yeah, but I wonder if it should be clarified by Congress. Like maybe Congress could make a stipulation that you can only be pardoned for crimes you've been convicted of.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then maybe in the case of the January 6th defendants who hadn't been convicted, Trump can simply order the DOJ, which is his department, to drop the charges and drop the investigations.
Or even just give them a trial, something. So really interesting stuff. I hate to say, I don't like the phrase, we're living in unprecedented times, because I feel like since COVID, we've been saying that over and over again. But
it's been true.
Things are getting real interesting. I have no idea what to expect. Like we said, this is day 2 into the new administration. I have no idea what's going to happen.
It's less than 24 hours or less than 48 hours.
Less than 48 hours. One thing that we can tell you from the past or from the future, from the past, is that you do have to admire the peaceful transition of power, as they say. That was good. That everyone was cordial with each other. And that's good. That's part of the rule of law too, right? So
cordial that we know about.
Cordial on TV. Let me restate that. Yes. Everyone appeared cordial on TV.
Yes.
Interesting stuff. Anything could happen. And we'll be here to discuss it all with you guys. And sometimes, again, not knowing the answers, right? Just here to discuss, get our minds thinking, spark some conversation. So let us know what you think. Let us know your opinions. Let us know if there's any topics you want us to talk about. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast, share with your friends. And until next time, Rachel, we will talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.